Okay, it is 5 o'clock. We'll go ahead and call to order the council meeting of the council work session of the East Grand Forks City Council for Monday, November 10th. Everyone, please turn on your microphones, and would the city administrator please call roll?
Mayor Mark Olstad.
Here.
Council President Brian Larson.
Here.
Vice President Tim Riepel.
Here.
Tammy Schumacher.
Here.
Ben Pokshavinsky.
Here.
Dale Helms.
Here.
Donald Casey.
Here.
Karen Peterson.
Here.
Okay, we have a quorum. Let's see, the first item on our agenda for today is construction process overview and bid package timeline for recreation improvement projects. Be Jeremy King and Tom McDonald from Construction Engineers. Welcome, Tom, and we'll turn over to you guys.
All right. Thank you, Council President, City Council, and Mayor. Today, Tom has put together just kind of as Brian said, a construction process overview, a bid package timeline and presentation, just so that everyone can understand what these next kind of steps are going to look like. Bid package 1 is out for bid right now. That'll close on Thursday. And then just kind of want to give everyone an idea of what to expect, because things are probably going to start feeling like they're moving really quickly in these next couple meetings. So Tom will go over the schematic design, the design and development, and the construction documents. He's going to use Valley Middle School as an example, which is a project that's ongoing right now in our community. So a lot of good information there. And then he'll also kind of update us on where we're at in bid package 1 and what we can expect in bid package 2. And with that, I will turn it over to Tom.
Great. Thank you, Council. First off, thanks for allowing me to come in and present today. There really is no action to be taken. This is just pretty much informational. One of the first things I want to go through is throughout a design, there are typically 3 major phases. A lot of these phases is where these estimates then come into play. So JLG and the design team and all their consultants are working away behind the scenes pretty heavily. The first phase is called schematic design. At this stage, the drawings are generally around that 30% complete. Mechanical, electrical systems are kind of at a narrative stage. They're starting to figure out how these buildings are going to work, excuse me, what the mechanical systems are going to look like. And at that stage, we put together an estimate. Now, these are budget estimates. They're not the final estimate until we get to a construction document. But what we're really trying to do is making sure that the design and the scope of the design and the dollars are matching as this progress goes along. So the first stage is the schematic design. The next stage is design development. At that stage, the documents are roughly 60% complete. They're starting to work out details, and then we do another estimate at that stage. Again, the more information we have, obviously, the more detailed the estimates are. The final stage is the construction documents. At this point, the documents are complete. It's gone out for bid. These are documents we're able to build off of, and at that stage, we develop our guaranteed maximum price, which is what we present to the council for approval kind of at that point. But each one of these estimates, and as we'll go through the deliverables that we kind of give, you'll be able to see where we are from one estimate to the next. As Jeremy said, the East Grand Forks Facility Project, we broke out into 2 bid packages. The first bid package being at the Civic Arena would be the rink floor replacement and the dasher boards, and at the VFW would be the rink and refrigeration replacement and the dasher boards in that project. The reason we broke that one out separate, those scopes out separate, is there are certain components that can be up to a 50-week lead time in those. So we wanted to get those bid out, get contracts rolling, get things moving to get that clock ticking as quickly as possible. And then bid package 2, right now we are slated to get the SD documents here at the end of this week, in which case we'll start moving forward, putting together an estimate as the design team continues to progress. So any questions on that process so far? And I guess if there are any questions, please feel free to stop me and interrupt me. I can talk about this stuff for hours, so I'm trying to keep it very minimal. So we did, as Jeremy stated, so this is the schematic. This is the first example is the schematic design bid book for the Valley Middle School. Please note I've taken some pages out of both of these just because they were redundant and just trying to, the GMP bid book was almost 100 pages long. I didn't want to bore everybody with it in that aspect. So I want to kind of run through the kind of major components of these bid books just to get everybody an explanation of what they're going to see when we get to this stage. So as you see, there's 4 primary sections. The executive summary, which is really just kind of a quick 10,000, or actually probably a 30,000 foot level overview of the entire project, budget, square footage, real kind of rough scope in that aspect. Then we get into our project schedule. As you'll see on this schedule at this stage, the schedule is really more heavy design detail than it is construction detail. And some of that is the scope is still kind of constantly being developed in that aspect. We have a window of time that we're looking to start and finish, but we're not getting into a lot of detail at that aspect. So, then we get into the schematic design estimate, and this is the one area where I kind of want to spend a little bit more time here today. Obviously, these numbers are irrelevant to this project, but just to get everybody looking at what you're going to see. The first thing we have is kind of a quick summary, which this kind of bullet points the scope that the estimate is based off of, and then at each estimate stage we kind of add to it and highlight what's changing and what's not from one aspect to the next. And then on page 10 of the example is kind of the first go round of the estimate. Now, a couple things that I really want to focus on here is just the way this is broken out. There's really kind of 3 primary components. You have your construction cost of work. So this is the nuts and bolts of the construction. So in this example, it's the things bordered by blue and bordered by green. So when we get to the final, these will be the things that people are actually bidding. The next item is permits, bonds, and insurances, which is just those. It has the permits, bonds, insurances, and fees. But a couple things I want to key on a little bit is the design contingency and the construction contingency. A design contingency, I'll get back so I'm at the mic, I'm sorry. You're good. Okay. A design contingency, obviously at this stage there's a lot of things that haven't been vetted out by the designers. I mean, carpet selections, flooring selections, types of doors, things like that. We know there's going to be a door there. We just don't know if it's wood, if it's hollow metal, if it's aluminum, if it's glass. So that design contingency kind of covers those decisions that haven't been made yet. Now, when we get to at each stage of these estimates, like right now on this one, the design contingency was 8%. The DD estimate, it was probably 5 or 3%. And then the GMP estimate, it'll be 0, because at that point, all those decisions have been made. Does that make sense? Any questions? Okay. The construction contingency, that is something that will carry through the entire project. What the construction contingency is for is, if a subcontractor defaults, if we have to accelerate the schedule. Honestly, when I first started doing this, I thought the construction contingency was kind of a big cover your butt thing. But at the end of the day, it's an insurance policy. If we walk into this project assuming that that there's going to be a change in any way, shape, or form, that's what we're shooting for. But history tells us that there's going to be something that's going to kind of come up. So the construction contingency is there to kind of protect that and protect the budget. Mm-hmm. So by putting it now, what happens is it forces us to keep the cost of work above down and make those tough decisions now to be able to have that insurance policy later. So,
and if that's not used, Tom, that would go back to the owner?
Correct, yes. Any construction contingency not used is fully returned back, less a savings clause type of thing. So, so it's not, as a construction manager, it's not essentially my money. It's there set aside for things to come up. The other thing that a construction contingency does, we've kind of, as an industry, we've kind of gotten out of this, but for a while, with prices being very volatile, there were things that if decisions weren't made within a matter of days or minutes, the prices were going up. So it allowed us to make those decisions in that situation right away and be able to get a change order to really kind of cap costs per se a little bit. So. And then the final section, kind of bordered in gray here, is the soft costs. Now, these are things that would not be a part of my contract, but they are part of costs that are incurred by the city in doing this project. Some real easy ones are the design fees, so the work that JLG and all their consultants are doing, that would be there. Some other things that are typically in there are any FF&E, furniture, fixture, and equipment, and then any owner contingency there as well. And again, that contingency is there just to protect. There's certain times at a project where right now would be the best time to make, the most cost-effective time to make this change. And if we do it later, the cost is going to be considerably greater type of thing. So that contingency kind of allows the team to kind of make those decisions moving forward. So then the other thing that we have is we kind of list the documents that all these estimates are based off of. And then we always have an understanding of contingencies, which I kind of gave you the crib notes of it here right now, but we put that in everything as we go. So that's kind of the schematic design bid book and the things that you're going to see. Any questions in that aspect?
At the schematic level, are you getting input from mechanical and electrical subs?
Yep, we have a lot of the local subs that we work with. We'll send them the narratives. They'll give us some pricing on it. And then we also go back to other products that are similar and kind of take a basis off of that. So, that estimate number is really a compilation of about 3 different ways of looking at it.
Sure.
To try to see. Again, it's not a final number. What we're trying to see is are we in range and target of the budget kind of as we're moving forward. So, but thank you for the question, Brian. Any other questions before I move forward? Okay. Then the next one is, this was the final bid book for the Valley Middle School. Again, it has a lot of the same components, so I'm going to kind of flip through those real quick, just trying to be respectful of everybody's time. We got the executive summary again, which is just that high level. As you can see here, the schedule is now pretty much more detailed on the construction side of things. Not so detailed on the design side, as that's been completed at this stage. We usually include a site logistics plan, just to kind of let you know this is how we intend on utilizing the site. A lot of the work that we'll be doing at the rinks will be during the off season, so it's not as prevalent, but there will be some things that will be happening while sessions are going on, and here's how we're going to contain things. And then the estimate, again, the same summary. As you'll see, there's some things bolded, which are changes from the previous estimate. Some things crossed off, which were things that were deleted as the design progressed forward. And then here's the estimate here, which I know this is a little bit hard to see. One thing I want to kind of note is, if we can zoom in a little bit.
Let's see.
If you go up to the top. Okay, so you see the DD estimate total. So that was the previous estimate. So you kind of see where things changed from the previous estimate, where things went up, where things went down. So the East Grand Forks Senior High School project, this was kind of the whole estimate history. Even with my glasses, I had to put it so small I can't read it, but there were 8 different estimates kind of from start to finish. It kind of gives us the history of where things started and kind of where things finished. So at this stage, you'll see that we did receive final bids, so we're listing the low bidders, or the bidders that we are requesting for input. And then let's see if I can, okay, perfect, that works well. Then like down here, the design contingency you see is 0. Because at that point, the design is fully vetted out and we go from there. So the other thing with this one, we get your soft costs. But then we have a list of alternates. Some were alternates were in the specs, some were voluntary alternates, things that kind of came up after the bid, or in some cases through vetting out with the subcontractors, things that could be potential savings. So it kind of also logs what's been accepted and what has been kind of rejected in that aspect. So
So these are like a la carte, Tom. You know, you can add them or deduct them from the project to
Right.
kind of hit where we want to be contract-wise.
Yeah, so as we get to this stage, we'll have a handful of alternates that'll be adds, we'll have a handful of alternates that are going to be deducts. The hope is that we are at the stage where we're under budget and we can take an add or two
Yeah.
and expand into the scope. But in the event that we're over a little bit, then here's some deductive alternates that'll give us the path to go there, get there, so. Another great question. So any other questions with this at any stage? So. Okay, I will keep rolling. If I can go back to.
You had some allowances in there too, Tom. Maybe, you know, just back a couple sheets. Maybe walk through kind of the thoughts on some of these project allowances for winter conditions or
Right.
things that are hard to bid.
Right, so you'll see up above, there's a masonry allowance, if you go up a little bit higher, Division 4. So under masonry 04A, then there's a masonry allowance of $400,000. We can ask the masonry bidders to include heat and cover. So obviously, in the winter, you can't lay block unless you're protected. If we have them put that in their bid, they're going to put what they feel, and every year's a gamble. I mean, there's been years, we were in the middle of October and we started having to heat and cover. We've had years when we've been in November and we didn't have to heat and cover, depending upon what's going on. So in these cases, we set this up as an allowance. We don't want the bidders to control it. We want to control it because if it is one of those nice, easy winters and we don't need a lot of heat and cover, that allowance acts kind of like a contingency. Whatever isn't used goes back to the city and back to the budget in that aspect. So we're utilizing that in, again, where's the best avenue for the owner in that aspect. There are times where, like I was telling Jeremy the other day, we did a project up in Botno. The local concrete guy was half the price of all the other three bidders. We scoped through everything with them. We walked through, we went down to evaluating his quantities. He was standing behind it. We kind of presented it to the owner. The owner did want to go forward with them just because it was local, but nobody felt comfortable with that number. So we put an allowance in there in the event that he backed out or came and all of a sudden said, oh, I didn't know you wanted me to provide the concrete too or something. Now we're not crippling the budget. It's in there. And a little follow-up on that. Yeah, he finished the project. We haven't seen an extra yet. So all that allowance kind of goes back to the owner and basically comes out of our contract. So if there are things, and sometimes there's bidders they'll exclude something. So we'll put it in as allowance to kind of make things apples to apples to the next bidders, and then we'll use that as there's a cost to get that work completed. So that's kind of our avenue to get that wrapped up. So, no, thanks again, Brian. Okay, perfect. So one of the biggest changes that you're going to see from the SD estimate or the DD bid book to the GMP bid book is going to be this bid log that you see here. So what this does is this basically lists every bid that we've received and kind of what their bid amounts were. The things that are in green are the bidders that we are recommending. And the things that are in red, there was something that kind of disqualified their bid for one reason or the other. So this bid tabulation just puts it all one right after the next to allow everybody to see it. So if we can scroll to the next. The next thing is, and this is where I took a lot of the pages out. Obviously, there were close to 50 contract categories on this. I just highlighted a couple. So this is where we put each bidder side by side. Here's a list of scope questions that we've kind of developed. Walk through, they either yes included it, no they didn't. And then kind of identifies who included what. Now, you'll see there's times where we didn't talk to, we usually focus on the low one or two bidders, not necessarily all five bidders in that aspect. Unless something happens, then we got to keep kind of going down the line. So this first one for the metal panels was pretty clean. If you want to scroll to the next one, please. This one got a little bit more dicier. There are some things that the low bidder excluded, but the second bidder had excluded as well. Here, the second bidder didn't include any bids for any of the alternates. So it kind of kicked him out in that aspect. So this next one gets a little bit more interesting. So in this case, you had one bidder that was low on base bid, being Allstate's flooring. But if alternates 1 and 2 are accepted, then floor to ceiling now becomes the low bidder. So that's kind of where our green kind of shifts a little bit. So, our initial recommendation, obviously we're not making decisions on alternates, was floor to ceiling, but if they are going to accept alternates 1 and 2, then we'd recommend, all states, then we'd recommend floor to ceiling. So, okay. And then wrapping up the bid book, we could probably go back to the PDF or whatever, if that's easier. Then again, we get the list of drawings and specifications, and then kind of wrapping up with the design contingency type of thing. So, and again, I know I walked through this really, really quick. Again, I appreciate you giving me time to to explain some of these things. The intent was when we get to it with your project, that there's at least some familiarity of what some of these things are. I don't expect that there wouldn't be any questions at that stage. I expect a whole slew of questions. But yeah, any questions with this bid book and these deliverables and this process? All quick and easy? Good. So
Go ahead, Dale.
Yeah.
It's not necessarily to do with this, but it's just something I'm just curious about. Are you planning on, when this project starts, are you planning on tearing up both arrays at the same time on floors?
Potentially, yes.
And you're going to be able to get both of them done in a lengthy time to have them up and one of them up and running or whatever?
That is what we're shooting for. But a lot of it's going to depend on once we get the bidders in on Thursday.
Yeah.
Be a lot of those bid clarifications on what their approach is, and then the lead times of some of the materials. Getting the rinks back in aren't the big concern. It's the systems at the VFW. Those are where some of the lengthier lead times are. So we'll be vetting those out with the low bidders and kind of walking through their approach and how they attend on attacking the projects. So, no, great question. Thank you for asking. So, any other questions?
Yeah, I have a question I think it's more for Reid probably on the mechanics of this. The steering committee, I understand, will be working closely with Tom's team here to scope out and look at some alternates that they'd recommend. Then that would come back to council with the steering committee's recommendation. If you could kind of walk through how we'll get to the council approvals for these contracts, I think that'd be helpful.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, Council President Larson. I think maybe just to start, let's talk about bid package 1 because that's what's advertised right now.
Sure.
That is, the bids are due by November 13th.
Thursday. Yep.
Thursday. And then construction engineers and their team will take a week to 10 days, am I right, Tom, to review this process that Tom just walked through, review and vet all the bidders and make sure that they're accurate and responsible and capable of the work. At some point then, the end of the week of November 17th, let's call it, by the end of that week, Tom will get back with Jeremy and myself. We've got the bid package put together. We're ready to present it to you with who we feel are the either lowest or most responsible bidders. And we'll meet as a steering committee. That's Mayor Olstad, Councilmember Peterson, Jeremy, and myself are the steering committee that was appointed by council. We'll meet and vet those and come up with our recommendation on construction engineers' advice on the bid package for bid package 1 to propose to bring forward to council. We would bring that for presentation to the council at the November 25th work session, and then look for approval of those bids at the December 2nd city council meeting. So that's the part of the intent of today's presentation is to start to familiarize everybody with the process, understanding that information is going to start to come to us pretty quickly and pretty quick turnaround to award contracts on bid package 1. Then the same process will repeat itself on bid package 2. ideally a little more spread out in some of the decisions to be made because there isn't as such a time crunch on some of the equipment that needs to be ordered specific to those ice systems. But that JLG has in schematic design right now, bid package 2, that work, which is more of the building envelope, the roof, any painting, the parking lot improvements that would need to happen. Those are all part of bid package 2. They're working through schematic design and at intermittent points through their design, the steering committee would meet. We do plan to bring that back to city council presentation for an update for all of you again on the progress being made and a more kind of elongated, Tom showed an example, but that big tabloid size poster that's got the schedule of how long design is going to take and when bid would come out. We'll plan to bring that back at a checkpoint again to get council to authorize moving forward with full plans and bid of the project of bid package 2. And then the approval process will repeat itself just like it did for bid package 1.
Bid package 1 and bid package 2 are basically under phase 1 of the whole process, right?
Correct.
You have a phase 2, just to let people know that there's more ongoing after these two.
Yeah. Yeah, the scope of bid package 1, that's the funds that are approved through the local sales tax. We talk about it as largely being mechanical and building site improvement, infrastructure improvement. It's not the baseball field that's part of the sales tax approval. There's a portion of funding for that. That's not part of either of these two bid packages. It doesn't include any locker room additions or building square footage additions. It's really the nuts and bolts of the facilities as people know them today. They're going to be facelifted and they're going to look in some areas updated, but it's more the mechanical, the nuts and bolts that keep the facilities operating and hopefully the intent being operating more efficiently. The second part of it at the Civic Center site, the ball field that's planned there, JLG is doing a schematic design of that so that Tom's team has a narrative and can start putting in maybe a more true to form estimate of what that's going to cost. Once we have a better estimate, then we can start having more discussions about what a fundraising campaign looks like and how we're going to come up with the dollars that we need, if that's still the intent is to operate and to get to that point. But to your point, Councilmember Reimbursement, that would be a separate project, a phase 2 at this point.
And we're tracking the projects at the Civic and the projects as the VFW as two separate projects, so two separate construction contracts?
Correct.
And when we say bid package 1, are we really focused on the VFW, or is it bid package 1 for each site?
It's bid package 1 for each site.
So we have two separate bid pack. We have VFW bid package 1, Civic Center
Yeah.
bid package 1.
Yeah, and the design team kind of combined the documents. There's one spec and there's one set of drawings.
Okay.
So the drawings are separated between the Civic and the VFW.
Yep.
And within the spec, like the refrigeration systems, obviously there's not a lot at the Civic, but and they identify, here's the VFW spec, here's the Civic spec.
Got it.
So some of it was just trying not to confuse bidders in any way, shape, or form, because that kind of pushes bidders away a little bit.
But we have separate budgets for each building, right? Like we're very fixed there, so we'll have to work contractually in these two different projects.
Mm-hmm.
Correct.
There's a lot of moving parts here, isn't there?
There's a few, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, then you throw in like an alternate or two, and that makes it fun as well.
Yeah. Wow. Okay.
Yeah, so my final part was the timeline, but Reid kind of walked through that here very quickly. The SD that he mentioned on bid package 2, we are to have that on Friday, by end of the day Friday from JLG. We'll start the next week and a half to 2 weeks. We'll start putting together numbers on that, and then we'll schedule meetings with the steering committee and kind of keep that process moving. Bid package 2, the goal is to be at the final GMP bidding kind of early February type of thing. So yeah, between now and February, you'll start seeing me more and more.
That's great. Okay. Any questions for Tom, Jeremy, or Reid here on the recreation improvement projects? I don't see any.
Okay. Well,
Great
thank you
job,
all for your
guys.
time.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. All right, let's move on to item number 2 then. Related matter here. Sales tax project bond sale schedule and reimbursement request for proceeds of bonds. Mr. Huttunen.
All right, thanks, Council President, council members. Yeah, related to the project we just discussed, we are generating the revenue off the local sales tax, which went into effect July 1st. As part of the project, planning probably early to mid part of April is when we'll start to see a lot of our bills come in with materials being on site and construction starting to happen. That late March, first part of April timeframe. So Finance Director Ms. Anderson and I have had some discussions with Baker Tilly, our financial advisors, on aligning a sale of bonds to finance this project. And that's what I've laid out in the RCA as kind of a schedule of events that goes along with that. We would bring to City Council scheduling January 20th of 2026. The City Council considering the authorization of the bond sale. Tuesday, February 17th would be the date that we would receive the sale of bonds and open bids on those. And then with approval of that, then we would expect to receive the bond sale March 19th of 2026. And that lines up so we'd have those funds available again for bills expected late March, first part of April to start coming in. The folks at Baker Tilly have advised Carl and I, at least as of date, that it seems like it's a good market for selling bonds. And that we are in a good time of year. Generally, the first quarter of the year is a great time to be out in the market for bonds. So we're hopeful that we'll get good rates and get a number of competitive bids on those. With that, and what's kind of in front of you for action tonight is there are some IRS regulations on the scope of how the proceeds of bonds can be used to fund the project. There's basically a reimbursement approval that's required as part of it. So that would be a resolution that I'd have on the agenda for next week's meeting for approval that would just put in place our regulation with the IRS that any expenses from the project that happen no more than 60 days prior to the receipt of bond proceeds would be eligible to be paid by the bond proceeds. That doesn't include the design, which is in effect right now. And we are collecting enough in sales tax on a month-to-month basis so far to be able to pay for those monthly design invoices that we're receiving. It's got a percentage of it, a threshold of even construction that it allows up to beyond that 60-day time frame. But this would be in place for us in advance of the sale of bonds so that if for some reason there were some construction expenses that started to come in and need to be paid ahead of the sale, that we'd be covered and be able to use those as eligible use of the proceeds.
We could reimburse ourselves with the bond
Correct.
sales.
Essentially reimburse the project.
Okay. If you had to buy the ice plant or put a down payment down, we would pay ourselves back with the future bond sale
Correct.
within 60 days.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, any questions for Reid or Carla here on this agenda item? Do we do this by ourselves, Reid, or are we packaged up with other municipalities and we're selling our bonds as a big group? Or is it, East Grand Forks is going out to market by ourselves?
That's a great question, Carly. Yeah, by ourselves.
Got it. Okay.
And with Baker Tilly advising and managing this all the way through, they'll have people on site even on the day of the sale of bonds on site to help manage that for us.
Great. And like you said, it's a strong bond market, I guess, or weak, whatever's better for the city.
Good for
right?
us, market, yes.
I should probably know that.
Yeah.
Good for us. Great. Okay, I don't see any other questions on that item. We'll move on to number 3 then. Discussion on Economic Development Authority Discretionary Loan Fund. Ms. Brockling.
Good evening, Mayor, Council President, and council members. I want to present this topic on this discretionary loan program that we've been working on as the EDA board. It's a program that will be underneath the discretionary loan that came forward, I think, in May. So this program does not compete with local banks and their typical lending procedures. This is kind of like you need some quick fast access funds with short terms, low interest, and it's a pretty easy program. So it'd be kind of designed for people who are more or less working on a project, or they need to buy a piece of equipment or something, where they need a fast, easy project. So, any questions or feedback or anything?
Any questions for Maggie on the terms of the loan? It's a $10,000 cap.
Yes, 10,000.
Okay. I don't see any questions.
All right, excellent. Thank you.
Yes, thank you. And that brings us to item number 4, request to offer free cities area transit rides to Food Pantry. Mayor Olstad.
Thank you, Mr. President. Yeah, Nancy sent this over to Reid and I. The city areas transit contacted her regarding that Mayor Boczynski is going to offer free rides to the food shelves in Grand Forks till the end of the year. And they were just asking us if we wanted to do the same on this side. And just wanted to bring it forth if people are interested in doing it and offering it. And what was the impact, Nancy, on this?
Currently, all of the food shelves are on our existing routes, so it wouldn't be a route deviation. So if they were already riding, it wouldn't be something that would be going off the beaten path. I would expect a couple $100 at the most that we would be providing free rides for.
Sure.
We do it for elections. We've done it for veterans on Veterans Day. We don't see a noticeable difference for us in the cost. Maybe 100, maybe 200. So I think it's a good thing. A lot of people, when they heard Mayor Boczynski offer that, they had asked if East Grand Forks was doing the same. So that's where we're putting it forward.
Anybody have any questions?
Mr. Helms?
Thank you. When they get to the food shelf, is the bus just dropping them off there and then they have to wait there for the next one to come around? Or how does that work?
They would have to, yeah, because the bus is on a time schedule.
Yeah.
And our bus drivers, our bus drivers have been notified that there may be people coming on with additional grocery bags and or boxes, and to make sure to find a space for them. But yeah, no, we have to maintain our regular time, so.
Anybody else have anything?
I see none.
Thank you.
Okay. That brings us to the end of our agenda for the work session. I'll be looking for a motion to adjourn. Moved by Riepel. Second by Pukshavinsky. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Meeting is closed. Thank you.